here is the story of the freak. Paulo Almeida was born May 13, 1976, 10 pounds, 6 ounces. He was the youngest of 4 siblings, 3 older sisters, so he was the baby boy. Around the age of 14, picked up weight training, started getting into it pretty seriously. As you can see here, already starting to work on my posing. I guess I knew what the future had in store. A couple more pictures here of around that same age, probably around 15. Hitting a bicep shot. Already working on my posing. Can never do enough posing. Hitting up another double bicep shot. And then basically a couple years later, this is probably around the age of 18, as you can see here, quite matured, especially with the hair on the chest. This is after probably about 3 years of training, starting to, put on a little bit of size, getting a little bit of decent shape. And as you can see, I was pretty religiously into it with the bodybuilding long pants, baggy pants that were pretty popular back in the day. And basically after this, I stopped training for 14 years straight, as most of you know. This year is at the age of 27. Basically throughout the years, the 14 years layoff I took, I was basically playing a lot of soccer, doing push-ups, stuff like that, just to keep in decent shape, but nothing to really put on size. And here where this picture was taken, this is at the age of 34, April 2010. This is when it all started. I went into a gym while I was on a cruise for a week. I was bored, decided to go into a gym, got that pump going, and pretty much the rest is history. And if you want to hear the full story, I have another video that basically gives a whole breakdown of how I got into it. But basically this is where it all started at the age of 34, probably around 200 pounds here. And then after a year of training, this is after a year of training, starting to put on some size, starting to get some shape. Obviously my muscle memory was pretty good, so I started getting, got pretty big pretty quick and started, a little bit of decent shape. Obviously nothing crazy yet, but for just 1 year it was pretty good. Starting to develop some shape. As you can see here, I had already had my back tatty before I even got into training. And the legs here, nothing like they are today, but it was a work in progress, and I was proud of them back then. And basically, I got up to a body weight of around 236 in those pictures, and that's after about a good year of training. Obviously, you grow really fast in the beginning. And then this is about 6 months later, kept making some progress, kept putting some more size on. The gains were still coming pretty good, pretty fast at this point, since I was still pretty new to it. But I was making some good progress. I'm not 100% sure what my weight was here, but soon after this, I basically decided to do my first show, which was an amateur show, just to get my feet wet. A lot of friends were convincing me that I had what it takes and I should give it a try. So I decided to do it, and I still remember to this day, it was actually 4 weeks away from the show, and here I am placing second at that show. I decided to do it with 4 weeks to go. Last minute, I remember to this day, it was the day after Thanksgiving. I had just pigged out, and then I just went on a crazy diet and did tons of cardio and got into pretty decent condition for only doing it for 4 weeks. And basically, I came I came second, and I said to myself, if I don't come first, I don't want to do this again. Because then, if I don't come first, then I know I wasn't meant to do it, and I didn't want to be up there in a basically little underwear, little thong. And so basically, so I ended up coming second at this show. It gave me some little motivation, so I decided, go back to the drawing board, and here I started putting on some more size. I got a good rebound from after that show. Started putting on some more size. And this is, I think, March of the next year, 2012. Starting to fill out more here, as you can see. The progress is starting to come, pretty quick here. Starting to fill out more in decent condition, and I got my body weight up to around 260 at this point. And then basically, I decided to do the provincial show, which was later that year. Again, I'm coming third here. That basically, it's like a regional show or state show if that was in the United States. Where I'm from, it's a provincial show. And I ended up coming third that year. I had the size and the shape and everything, and as you can see, it started to really come into play. The more shows I did, the more better I got. But conditioning was still not up to par. I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, and you always think you're a lot better conditioned than you are. So obviously I wasn't, because that's why I kept coming third. And here I got awarded the Mutant Mass Award, actually from a fellow IPB pro who just turned pro as well, Ron Partlow. And then basically that year, same year, 6 weeks later, I ended up doing Canadian Nationals. I was already in condition, and I decided to do it just to get my feet wet and just for the experience, because I didn't know if I was going to keep bodybuilding after this. But basically it was definitely an eye-opener. I definitely knew I wasn't ready at this level. It was a different ball game than just doing the provincial show. But I got some good experience, and I knew I definitely, if I was to do this again, I would definitely have to make a lot of improvements, and especially in conditioning wise, because those guys were a lot better conditioned. And then basically just went back to the drawing board, just try to keep putting on more size in the right places, and just getting thicker, and training was going good, and just kept doing what I do. And, just kept working hard and seeing what I can do to try to improve for the next year, because I had to basically do provincials again to try to win it again. So I just kept working hard, kept making improvements, and I got my weight up to about 280 here, and respectable condition, I guess. That was the heaviest at that point. And then later on that year, I ended up doing the provincials as well again. I brought a bigger package, and the best package to date. As you can see here, my body's really starting to transform here. You can start seeing the base start to form, and you can start seeing the roundness and stuff really starting to come into play here. This is basically in 2013. Again, I won the Mutant Mass Award. Again, I always win these awards for the biggest, freakiest athlete, but really the award I wanted was the overall, so I didn't have to do the show again. But I ended up coming second. It was a pretty close call, but yeah, the guy who won obviously had better condition, so I couldn't complain. And then that year again, I decided to do the Canadian Nationals as well. Again, it's usually always 4 to 6 weeks after, so I just decided to do it again. Another good learning experience, and I thought I had made a lot of good improvements, which I did, but apparently not enough. And obviously, again, conditioning was obviously a big factor of why I didn't play so well. I ended up placing 9th this year. The previous year I'd finished 10th, so one better. And then I had a bit of off season, and this was my starting point, probably around 285 pounds. Before I started the prep for the 2014 provincials. Hopefully it was my last time. So, but I brought the biggest and best package yet to date. And as you can see here, really starting to fill out, really starting to show the signs of a top-ranked amateur, and that you can see that I really had something in me that separated me from a lot of the other competitors. You can tell that the potential was there. Brought my best conditioning, my best package to date, but I obviously still not the conditioning that I'm looking for nowadays. But it was the best that day. It was great size, symmetry, and everything, a combination. And finally, I was able to win it that night, and I was overwhelmed with joy here, as you can tell. I ended up winning the overall and the heavyweight, so I didn't have to do this show again, thank God, because I was getting tired of doing it. And then later on that year, I ended up doing nationals again because I was in such great shape, and I really thought I had a good chance of doing it. This is actually the first time I've been able to see my back since I've been training, because I got it sprayed that year for the first time. I was actually able to see my back definition for the very first time, so I was pretty excited. And I brought the best package I could to this show, and I said to myself, if I don't place respectable, then maybe it's a sign that it's not meant to be, because I brought the best package I could. I was in unbelievable condition. I think I was probably weighing around 245 pounds here. Just like I said, the best condition I could to date. It was unreal. I was very confident, and so I ended up actually coming third in this show. This was 2014 Canadian Nationals, and that gave me a lot of motivation to come back the next year and work hard and try to take it. And yeah, as you can see here, this is where I'm getting third. So I put a lot of time and effort into the off season. My main goal was to come back and try to win it. Here I made some great gains as well. Again, some great improvements. got my arms up to 23 inches for the first time in my life. That was a big moment for me. And yeah, just as you can see, I just had a great off season, put on some great quality size. You know, I had a lot of momentum going into the show. There was a lot of talk and hype about me being the big favorite, so that kind of motivated me even more to even bring in the best. And I had one of the best off seasons I had that year. Everything was on point. You know, there was training was on point, and you know, 110% dedicated. I got my body weight up to the heaviest at that point in my career, 295 pounds, maintaining good condition. And then basically, yeah, so just kept working hard and was very excited. And you know, this was going to be a dream come true. And then basically when I stripped it all down, I got down to 253 pounds here, 3 days out from Canadian Nationals. And then, you know, it was the best condition ever to date. I was just absolutely peeled, and I was so happy with what I was able to bring. I worked so hard. This was just moments before stepping on the stage. I had just, you know, filled out perfectly, dried out perfectly. I really nailed it. This is one of my most favorite shots, the double bicep shot. You know, for this show, I don't think I could have been any better, to be honest. I was lean, I was dry, I was hard, I was just filled out perfectly in all the right places, and I had made great improvements from the previous year, and I was really confident with the package I had brought. And as you can see in a lot of my shots, you know, big smile, and you know, just very confident, because I knew I had brought one of the best, and I knew that if I brought my best, that I was going to be really hard to beat, because I'd made such good improvements in the off season. And as long as I brought in my conditioning, which I did, then I was going to be hard to beat. So, you know, I just went in there, you know, I said to myself, don't put too much pressure, just have fun. Like you see the big smile here. And, you know, then I was overwhelmed when they announced me as the winner for the overall and the super heavyweight title. And that's where I obtained my pro card. And that was the biggest moment of my career. It was so overwhelming. I worked so hard to get to this. And really, it was only a realization after coming third last year that I could obtain this. And then after this, I did a couple more shows. I did the Vancouver Pro, which is where I grew up. 2 weeks later, ended up placing 5th there out of 7th. I was pretty happy. And then I did the Tampa Pro. I ended up coming 11th there a couple weeks later. And then I did the Texas Pro a couple weeks later, and I ended up placing 11th there. Just getting my feet wet, and conditioning was kind of hard to maintain. And then now basically just been having my off season, just been having a great off season again, working hard, trying to make improvements. I believe I've made a lot of improvements in the right places, especially bringing up my hamstrings, my chest thickness, everywhere overall. I've been really wanting to bring up everything, of course. And you know, I got up to my heaviest at this year, 300 pounds, maintaining great condition. Got my legs up to 32 inches, first time ever, so I was pretty happy with that. Been working hard on them. And here I got up to my heaviest weight, 301 pounds. I got the heaviest this off season while maintaining good condition. And here I was at 295 when I started my prep for this year's shows. And this is basically where we've gotten to in the evolution of the Freak. 8 weeks out of my first show. And here's just a couple more pictures of just some before and afters. You know, like I always tell people, you know, things don't happen overnight. You know, have they happened a lot quicker for me than most? Yeah, sure they have. You know, and I always preach that, you know, genetics is a big part of this sport. But that's not to say I don't work hard and work my ass off in the gym. Most of you probably won't know because you don't see me in the gym and whatnot. But if anybody's ever said so, you know, they know that I train hard and I'm disciplined, and you know, everything's got to be on point. You know, my diet's always on point. You know, I don't really cheat much and stuff like that too. And I just work hard. And I believe, you know, as long as everything's like that and everything's optimal, then the results, you know, can come as fast as they can, you know, within your genetic potential. So, you know, everybody can, you know, grow within the genetic potential, and then genetics is going to be the true test of what's going to happen at the end. But all you can do is try your hardest and just keep plugging away. As you can see here, you know, you can never tell when I first started training, even after 1 year, that, you know, where I would end up today. And I'm just really blessed, you know, to have a great support around me and friends and people that motivate me, and especially now my fans that really push me to be the best I can be. And you know, my main goal, as most of you know, is to be on that Mr. Olympia stage this year, and I really think that I have a good chance of making it on there with my work and dedication. And thank you for joining in, guys. And that's basically the evolution of the freak.